Hi, I'm Glenn Simpson, and I've collected comic books for over 40 years, and I'm showing off my comic book collection one box at a time. Today we're looking at box number 16. It's all Avengers, and I hope you enjoy it. We are going to look at various series. We're going to finish up the first series, and then go to the second and third, and maybe some of the fourth. And if there's any books in between in the packs that I show that you'd like for me to pull out and show, I'll be happy to do it. Please like, subscribe, comment, let me know how it's going, and I'm glad you're here. So let's go. All right, we are beginning where we left off on the last box at Avengers 341, right here. We've got some Rage and some Sons of the Serpent going on. And then we jump to Avengers 345, part of Operation Galactic Storm. Pretty cool crossover that was going on during that period of time. That continues in Avengers 346. Got Deathbird, Operation Galactic Storm, Hercules. What more could you ask for? And then we jump to 350, Avengers versus the Starjammers. Always fun to get them together. Right there. Then we've got the next issue, which is 351. Interestingly enough, we've got Carol Danvers here, who is still binary in that form at this point in her career. Not yet turning back into Ms. Marvel. And she's going up against Raza from the Starjammers. We've got, we jump to 354, some dude with eyes on his fingers, versus the Avengers. They're in 354. I think, Grim Reaper is in there, kind of thing. We've got 355. We're getting into the Steve Epting art, which was kind of a classic period, or we're going to be, anyway. Or is it still Tom Palmer? I don't know. But this is just a cool time for the Avengers as we start to close in on somewhat the end of that run. But anyway, 355, Swordsman is back. Then we go to 358. We've got Sersi, we've got Thundra, we've got Archon, all these big names. 358. We've got 359. Yeah, Steve Epting. I'm not crazy. Okay, good. Sersi. We got Inhumans. We've got Gods. We've got Eternals. We got it all, man. Avengers 359. 362. Got White Vision losing his mind. And in Avengers 362. Ooh, let me see how this is going to come out. Yeah, it's alright. You can kind of, let me tilt that just a smidge. Avengers 363, embossed, silver. This is the time frame we're in. I'll do it the other way in case that helps for some of it. Looks like it would have been a pretty cool cover, especially if you could see it. And then it just so happens 366 was another one. So we'll just kind of do a little motion here to help with that. In this giant-sized 30th anniversary issue. We are back to normal art on 367. Vision back in his main colors. Right there. 370 of Avengers. Big fight. Hank Pym back as Giant Man doing his thing. Or he might have been Goliath. I'm not sure which name I can't remember which name he was using there. Avengers 371, dealing with what was his name? He's from like an Atlantean sorcerer guy, and he was the main bad guy behind Atlantis Attacks, and he's back here. 374. Got the Sersi being manipulated there. We got 375 with Black Knight defending Sersi's honor, as it were. And we go to 378. Vision up against some dude who looks like Omega Red's third cousin. Right there. We've got 379. Now these were, the double feature had like a Giant Man story. It's a flip book with Giant Man. And sometimes this gets set up as its own series called Avengers Double Feature or something like that. But I've got them just stuck in here with the regular Avengers. But I have all of my issues of Avengers for that run are the double feature. And they have this neat George Perez cover that you connect the covers, and it looks pretty cool. And that continues into 382. Quicksilver, High Evolutionary, always good stuff. Then 383, we've got a guest appearance by Fantastic Force, the spin-off from Fantastic Four was going on around that time. And then we jump to 390, The Crossing, or before The Crossing. We've got Quicksilver and Crystal's daughter, Luna, getting captured by this dude, Mike Diodato art on that. And we've got this little pack. We're into The Crossing, and things are not looking good for the Vision there. And then that continues into, and the numbers get hard to read, 394. This period of time when the Wasp sort of transformed and was had more of a waspy appearance. There. That didn't last long. We're continuing into the time slide, The Crossing, all of the big names there on as we finish out this series on Avengers. Iron Man, some revelations about Iron Man that would be revealed here and then never mentioned again. And finally, 402, the final issue of Avengers, as they get into the span where they are in volume 2, or what is it? Shoot. Oh crap. Anyway, Onslaught. That's the one I'm looking for. Onslaught. And Heroes Reborn and all that good stuff. So anyway, here I have a trade of George Perez, Marvel Legends, and this reprints several different issues that George Perez did. Most of them I have, except for one of the annuals, one or two of the annuals, and it must have been 6 and or 8. So that's why it's stuck here, because I ran out of room in my bookshelf. And so this is my placeholder for that Avengers Annual 8. But here's 9. The Avengers going up against this robot that was buried in the basement of Avengers Mansion, and getting in a big old fight with that. And then, so then we've got a jump to 10, rather 11. Avengers. This is one of my older issues too. Man, I read the heck out of this. This Avengers Annual number 11, featuring the Defenders. I think this is where I first learned that the Silver Surfer had been a member of the Defenders, because to me the Defenders were, Nighthawk and Valkyrie and Hellcat and whatnot. And then this little bundle jumps to Avengers 14, which was a kind of a 2-part story that included the Fantastic Four Annual of the same year, fighting some Skrulls. I believe this is where they all got frozen in whatever form they were in at the time, but they got over it. Avengers 15, I think this one actually crossed over with the West Coast Avengers Annual. But yeah, well, of course, there's West Coast Avengers in here. But we've got Avengers going up against Freedom Force, which is the former Brotherhood of Evil Mutants who went to work for the government. And then, speaking of Atlantis Attacks, here is the Avengers Atlantis Attacks Annual crossover. Number, what is that? 18. And then the next year we have the Terminus Factor as the, this is part 5, so this story ran through 5 different annuals that year. All the heroes battling Terminus as he got bigger and bigger and bigger. Then this one is, this would be more timely if Kane was still a MCU, coming to the MCU, but we've got the Citizen Kang crossover between 4 or more of the annuals that year. And let's see, then we've got Avengers Annual 22. The deal this year was they're all introducing new characters like Bloodwraith right here. Let's see, we've got, and then Annual 23, just kind of a basic Avengers story on that one. Then we jump to Volume 2. Sending this over to Rob Liefeld and Jim Valentino and folks from their studio to see if they can spice up what's going on, get some better sales for Marvel on Avengers. So they're got some Liefeld art there. And that continues through issue 8, which by this time, all those people are gone. They couldn't seem to maintain a steady creative team. So now we've got, I can't remember if this is Walt or Louise Simonson, but we've got this set. I mean, it looks good. It looks pretty. I like the art. Right there. And next issue, issue 9. Mostly the same creative team. Cool new Thor, Iron Man. Got Captain America had that winged shield thing on his head, on his center of his head. They switched it back out with the traditional A. Got a new version of Hellcat, and that ends with number 13. This World War III crossover that was a big crossover for all of the these series that that studio was doing, including using some characters that can't be reprinted because they wound up being bought out, like Zealot, the Wildstorm, I believe, characters. So this is never reprinted because DC now owns the Wildstorm characters, and they're not giving permission apparently. Right here, I've got a Wizard Zero issue that came out shortly after this next edition of Avengers started, so we're following it with that. Cap's got his electric shield and whatnot. We got Justice and Firestar on the team. Then we've got Avengers 1.5. I mean, I know it's technically supposed to be 1.5 for the main series, but it came out while this third series was out, so we kind of got stuck with that. Right there, all getting ready to go up against Doctor Doom. That's kind of timely. Alright, and then we get into the real issues. George Perez, Kurt Busiek, Heroes Return, Avengers, lots and lots of Avengers, lots and lots of beauty Oh my gosh, this was great. This was just amazing. Just wonderful. So highly recommended. So that's issue 1, which was kind of a wraparound. Issue 4, they had reason for all of, pretty much everybody who's ever been an Avenger showed up, so then they had to actually pare it down to an actual team, and they do that in issue 4. Issue 5, we've got that team going up against the Squadron Supreme, who have gotten mentally controlled yet again. This is the version that was most like the version that had been in the 12-issue series by Mark Gruenwald. And then we jump to issue 8. We have Triathlon, who was a derivative of the 3D man, who had been a character that had been created in the 70s, who was set in the 50s, and he is got similar powers, but since 3D isn't such a big deal, especially the red-green 3D, he has a different name. He is Triathlon. Let's see. We continue that series with the event number 9, Avengers. Moses going up against Moses Magnum. I'm Moses Magnum. And then that continues into Avengers 12, Avengers versus OG Thunderbolts, with Hawkeye joining, leading the Thunderbolts right there. The fight that had to happen. Let's see, issue 13. The Justice and Firestar getting kind of caught between their old team, the New Warriors, and being on the Avengers. We've got number 16. We start to lose George Perez, which is regrettable, but it happens. We've got Jerry Ordway apparently writing. I just noticed that. And I think this is a little bit of a variant cover. One of these I've got something that's a variant cover. Maybe not. Maybe not this one. Oh yeah, 1621. So hey, variant cover alert on that one. And that storyline continues into 17, Day of the Doomsday Man. We've got somebody dressed up like old school Ms. Marvel in there. And that continues. We've got 20. We've got Busiek and Perez are back. Thank goodness. And fighting Ultron. See how many bits and pieces? That's how you know it's Perez. It's a lot of bits and pieces. Got Wasp in that classic suit. Scarlet Witch in the barely there costume. Sure. And that story continues into 21. We've got Black Panther back on the Avengers. Now's about the time we've gotten that storyline. So we've got Cap with the electric shield. And then that continues into, he's getting that, but then he's got it back. Okay, he's got the original back. In Avengers number 24. And it was the 1999 Wizard Fan Award winner. So, hey, prestigious. All right, had to recalibrate there for a second. We've got Avengers 25. Beauty shot by George Perez. With all the team, some villains back there. This was, I think this was the 8. This was something to do with some Juggernaut and some other new avatars of gods or something like that. And then 28 is we're in this war. They're fighting Kulan Goth, and we've got Ms. Marvel in her classic suit there. Then we go to 29. Where there was a line, and if you crossed it, you got pulled into this world that was sort of that world of Kulan Goth. We've got Triathlon still around. We've got, oh, I don't remember what her name was. She was like Jarvis's adopted niece or something like that. We've got Hank Pym being a stud back there. And then we go to 32 with the return of Madame Mask right there. Oh, so pretty, so pretty. George Perez, rest in peace. Oh, Avengers 33 right there. Wasp zapping the heck out of Count Nefaria. Then we get to 36, and Perez has moved on. So, but we still have Busiek. We got the Avengers going up against some folks. The real battle's over here. Iron Man having some trouble with having to go back and reuse some old armor. I kind of like that idea of him having to go back and use the older armor, and instead of everything always being completely state of the art all the time. But that's neither here nor there. Alright, we've got Slorenia, a country sort of like the country that in the Avengers movies that gets kind of destroyed by, not destroyed by the Avengers, but, you know, they get blamed for it. And then we've got number 40, Avengers going up against a large green hand. And then we go to 41, fighting the Scarlet Centurion right there. Alan Davis doing art. No shame, no problem with Alan Davis. We've got some Kubert art here on Avengers 44, Firebird. One of Marvel's lesser known heroes over here. We started some legacy numbering here, 459. We've got number 45. Team not looking too good. We've got the 100-page monster on issue 48. So we had a new story, and then we had a reprint there in the back. Maybe two reprints on these 100-page monsters. Then we've got issue 49. Hey, Kane. Got enough said issue where there's no dialogue. You have to, the whole story is just told in graphics. And then we go to Avengers 52. Firebird still around. Hank is Yellow Jacket. Good stuff. Got Thor. Where's Cap? No Cap. No Cap, as the kids say. 53. Continuing that storyline. Got Firestar. There's Cap. And then we go to 56. Got some, this kind of ties in somewhat with what Thor had going on in his book at the time, I believe. But otherwise, just a beauty shot of the Avengers there, the big three. Then Jeff Johns, more famous for his DC work, comes on and does some avenging for a while. And he has them going up against we got Jack of Hearts, we got Ant-Man. He's got them going up against the Zodiac there, or at least Cancer, I believe. Continues into Avengers 61, Legacy 476. Got She-Hulk hanging out. They're having a party. Beauty shot on a cover of Avengers 64 of the Falcon. Who's that by? That is by somebody, I can't tell. But it's a beauty. And we continue into 65, Red Zone arc. The Avengers right there. Nice little chunk of space, and then we go to 72. Search for She-Hulk. I think she had absorbed a big batch of radiation, and they weren't sure what effect that was going to have. And turns out it was to make her more, you know, muscly Hulk and put her on a rampage and that kind of thing. So they have to get her sorted out. We go to 76 with one of those covers that is not very helpful in reminding me what was going on. But J. Leigh cover there. Number 77, experimenting with lower prices. John Cassaday cover, rest in peace. Of the team heading on in. We've got this would be 80. Lionheart of Avalon. We're going to meet get a new Captain Britain out of this storyline. Avengers in England. Got 81, beauty shot of Scarlet Witch having a bit of a freak out right there. 84, as we say in Bronze and Modern Gods, for the gays. We got Namor doing his thing right there. This is Legacy 499. And then we have the great and powerful Disassembled with Brian Michael Bendis coming in and basically dismantling, or shall we say disassembling, the Avengers to create the new Avengers. And so we have issue 1 of that. Got David Finch on art. And that continues into part 4 in the last issue, which is 503. And of course all of this would continue into the new Avengers, which we will get to in a future video when we get to the ends. Meanwhile, for this edition of Avengers, we have a few annuals. We've got this one from 1998 with the Squadron Supreme once again getting brainwashed. Cap's got the old school shield because he'd lost his regular one. And we have I've never understood what was going on here. This was always such a weird cover, but Hank Pym is having some kind of mental break, but there's also a physical component to it. So I don't know if Yellow Jacket is crawling out of Giant Man or just maybe he's being flattened by. I guess he's being flattened by him now that I'm kind of standing further away from it and looking at it that way. But he's, the parts of him, his previous identities are being separated there. Then the next time we have an actual series called The Avengers. It's during the Heroic Age period at Marvel. We still have Wolverine and Spider-Man who joined during the New Avengers span, and we have JR Jr. on art. Issue 1 of that. We've got a Iron Man who should have used more moisturizer here in issue 4. Let's see, we've got issue 5 here with a beauty shot that helps me in no way remember what was going on. We've got a bit of a key, used to be a key anyway. We've got Tony Stark for the first time using or gaining all of the Infinity Stones. So, totally different situation, but the fact that he is indeed, got all the Infinity Stones there in a reflection of what happens in Endgame. So a lot of people have that. We're getting that cover there for a while. I've got 12.1. This was that time frame where they were doing the .1 series. And is that Bucky Cap? I guess it is, with the short gloves. Yeah, so Bucky has taken over from Cap. And we've got Spider-Woman in the Avengers. Good stuff. We got Bendis still doing the writing. Then that series continues into 19. Got The Protector, which is the former Marvel boy, which is the guy Novar, who is a Kree who has come to Earth, and he was kind of he got aged up here. Nothing official, but he would go back to being sort of a young Avenger at some point after this. I got Ms. Marvel there. Make sure my stack's not going to fall over. All right, we've got Avengers 20 with some Hydra Hulks, or Hulk Hydras, as the case may be. And then we jump to 26. Walt Simonson art on that. Thor versus Protector. Right there. Then we go to Avengers 27. Oh no, Protector, what are you doing? Why have you attacked the Avengers? And that series finishes up with this. We were rolling into the Secret Wars series there. Avengers 34, beauty shot of Thor here. And then that's that. So then the next series is the Jonathan Hickman Avengers series. We've got Captain Marvel, or Carol Danvers has become Captain Marvel at this point. Hulk is in his indestructible Hulk phase. Right there. We've got Hyperion, the sort of takeoff of Superman that lives in the Marvel Universe. Right there in Avengers 4. We've got issue 5 with Smasher from the Imperial Guard, the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, hanging out with the Avengers some. Right there, meeting Cannonball. They will have a child. She will have a child with Cannonball. Issue 8 of Avengers. Golden Armor Iron Man, still indestructible Hulk, Starbrand coming in. So the Starbrand being originally from the 1980s New Universe, and was something from a separate universe. But since Secret Wars had done a lot of universe combining, then it made it something that could show up in the regular universe. Also got Captain Universe back there. Speaking of universes, say universe again. All right, we got issue number 9. Starbrand just casually saying to the Avengers right there. Kind of funny. And then we jump to number 12. Avengers in the Savage Land. Right there. Got Spider-Man back. Remember this being kind of entertaining. Some of the kids were fun. Let's see. If you're in the Savage Land, you may run into Terminus. Seems that's kind of where he hangs out. Got Hawkeye without his real costume. Still got Hyperion hanging out. We got both the spiders. Doing good, having fun, fighting Terminus. Now we're into the Infinity crossover. So we're bringing in more Thanos. Somewhere in here we're getting that first appearance of the Thanos' underlings. That group. Getting into some thick Hickman storytelling there. Got number 21. I believe that's the Captain Universe character. Right there on the cover. Then we jump to 28. Oh no, Hulk's out of control. What are we going to do? He's going to smash ya. And then to number 29, part of the Original Sin crossover. Doctor Strange giving Cap a hard time there about something. Then we go to 32. I believe that is Hyperion right there, thinking about, I don't know what he's thinking about. Who are these people? I guess that's the other, I think he's thinking about other versions of himself in the multiverse. I don't know. But he's finding out some things, because that's what happens in Original Sin, is you find out things that you didn't know. Secrets of the Marvel Universe. We've got a little pack here of 34.1. That was an all Hyperion issue. And 34.2, which I believe was like an all Starbrand issue. And then we go to 33, continuing the Starbrand line of storytelling in Original Sin. Then we go to 36. In 7 months, time runs out. Did I say that other series was leading into Secret Wars? I think I was a bit premature on that. 36. So I'm sure somebody was yelling at the video. No, that's not right. But we've got the team. 7 months till Secret Wars here in Avengers 36. 37. It's still 7 months until time runs out. Got Captain Marvel there in a weirdly colored suit. 39. Got the whole team. I forget why everybody's like gray. There's half of them are gray. Something's when time runs out, so does all color, I guess. Right there. In 41, 3 months until time runs out. Got a little homage cover here to the Ultimates, and I think we're doing a little crossover there. And then the final issue of that one is number 44, with a couple of what is that? That's Hank Pym maybe, and Iron and Tony Stark going at it. In the final issue of Hickman's Avengers. And then during that time, hey, there was an annual that was a Christmas annual. Usually annuals are during the summer, but hey, you could have a Christmas annual. And so it tells just a little Avengers story set during the Christmas time. And that's all for this box. And that's box 16. Next time we'll look at box 17, which finishes up some additional series of Avengers, and we'll get into some Avengers mini-series and one-shots. So I hope you'll come back, and I hope you are enjoying. Have a great day.